Oh, hey there, King. Long time no see. Guys, today in 110 SAS Actual, drama. Stop buying Glocks. We have drama today. What is the most miserable shooting experience of all time? It's not the 1911. No. This guy right here.
Nah, yo, hold my poodle. Hold my poodle.
You know, I think if Bob could talk here, he would agree with me. Guys, the most miserable shooting experience, it's a Glock. That is what we are going to talk about today in today's episode. So prepare some hurt feelers, get your preparation H. It's about to go down. Oh, hey, King. I want to tell you about a new friend here of the channel. It's Badlands Munitions Company. Training ammo, pistol ammo. There's even match ammo. What's dope is, guys, they're based here in the United States, right out of Arizona. Everything, it's all made in-house. They've actually given us a discount code, 10% off for all the homies. No matter what you pick up, if it's ammunition, you're getting 10% off. Code 110 SAS, check them out. It's the most mid gun of all time, but what makes it so successful? Now, to understand why Glocks have been so successful, we have to go back to the beginning.
Now picture this, the year, it's 1982. On the cover of Ebony magazine is Michael Jackson and E.T. Sugar-free soda is all the rage. In models, they happen to look like the crackhead basketball kid. Cars either look super rad like this, or they look like this. There's a little ditty about Jack and Diane, and a gentleman by the name of Gaston Glock arrives to the scene. World renowned at the time for his horse insemination process. No cap, for real, on God, dude sells horse semen. We'll get to that, I promise. Now, the Austrian army is looking to replace their German P-38s, most likely because it lost World War II.
It ain't won no world war, so it ain't no good, sonny.
But how many Terror Force?
Having a heart attack.
So what do they adopt in its place? You guessed it, the Terminator, baby. Just kidding. He did serve in the Austrian military, but they picked up the Gen 1 Glock 17, which I think is kind of funny because these guys are out there literally using carrier pigeons with camo that looks like they copied the homework of frog skin from World War II, United States Marine Corps, but looks like they accidentally put it in the washer with some red t-shirts. Anyways, in 1986, the FBI loses a massive firefight and are severely outgunned. What do? They pick up a Glock.
So that all sounds pretty great, right? But what makes them the most miserable shooting experience of all time? Everything I've said sounds pretty good so far, right? Let's dive into it.
But first, we interrupt this broadcast to tell you about Glock horse semen. Yes, Glock horse semen. That is a real thing. Gaston Glock is a huge horse person, okay? You know what horse girls are like? I don't even know what I could imagine a gun and horse guy like. So, he sells horse semen, okay? I did some maths for you here, okay? So, we've translated this guy right here, as you see, from, I don't even know, euros, pounds, or something like that, to dollar bills. Look at that, for just over 1,700 bucks. You too can own some real Glock.
So picture this, you just left your local FUD store. You walk out with your G19 Gen 5. Brand new, it's phenomenal, you're so excited, you want to go shoot it, you take it to the range and you shoot it, and you put it away and you never change anything, right? Right? Wrong. The first thing I ever hear people say about their brand new Glock, yeah, dude, it's so nice, it's so sweet. I only changed the trigger, I only changed the slide stop, I changed the grip on it, I changed the barrel. Is it really Glock perfection if you have to change every single part out of the box? Like, whoa, okay, hang on a second. Pump the brakes there. What did you say? What did we just change? Let's just start at the top. First things first. Contrary to what you always see on TV, Glocks are not supposed to be fired like that. First things first, I want to change the trigger on it. Now, why do they change out the original stock trigger? Here's the thing, hard facts. It sucks. Glock triggers suck. Glock triggers suck. At the heart and soul of this pistol is the most miserable trigger of all time. Period, of all time. And let me tell you why, okay? So, we have the world's worst trigger. The problem that we have is the extremely long break, extremely long. There's so much play in this trigger. Come take a look at this. The amount of play in this trigger is just absolutely outstanding. This gun, it's not even close to going bang. Not even close. This is literally just part of the safety here. We have all of this take up here considered in this, I guess you'd call it a two-stage trigger. So we have this, all of this take up in this play. We finally get to the wall. Now the wall is the point right before the trigger breaks and the gun goes bang. But here is the problem. Look at all of this creep. So much bang. There's so much movement in this trigger before it goes bang. This is so much travel. And then you have to get all the way to your break here before it goes. Look at this thing. Watch this. I'm at the wall. That's terrible. There is so much travel. It becomes unpredictable. And the problem of it is when you are at the range and you talk to somebody who hasn't shot a lot before, they say, hey, I shoot pistols and I usually shoot them pretty well. This Glock, I'm shooting low left. And a lot of times what that is you are anticipating the recoil of this handgun. Why are they anticipating the recoil? Well, one, they probably need a little bit more practice. Yeah, everybody could use some more practice, including myself. But the problem of it is that these people, they're typically used to shooting pistols. And here's the thing. This gun, it's not going bang when they think it's supposed to. There's so much creep in this that they're like, oh my God, why isn't it going off? Why is, and they dip the gun and shoot low left. Now let's talk about the reset of this. Coming in a little closer here. Now on top of this miserable and unpredictable break, we have one of the world's worst resets. Look at the travel in this trigger in order for this gun to reset. Look at that. Look. There it finally goes. The amount of over travel in this reset is just, it's disgusting. This is disgusting. And you guys think, like, okay, you need to get a better trigger than what you've got. Guys, I have tried so many triggers on the market. I've tried Glock OEM. I've tried their competition trigger. I've tried Apex, Timney. This in here, this is the best Glock trigger I have ever used, period. It's Johnny Glock's. And here's the thing. It's a slightly modified OEM trigger that's been polished. So essentially, this trigger feels like it's got, I don't know, let's call it 20,000 rounds on it with a tiny bit of modifications to it that make it just a little better. Things like a slightly better break and a slightly better reset. But even then, as we can see here, this is still miserable. This is still a terrible trigger. It's the worst trigger. So let's go look at a 1911 platform and show you a trigger there. Now this gun here is a double stack 1911, which is essentially a 2011, but ultimately it's going to be a 1911 pistol. Let's check out this trigger, okay? Now, this trigger here's reset is just, it's unbelievable. Come check this out. So what we have here is a red dirt tactical trigger. This is a flat trigger. It's roughly 220 bucks. That costs about the same as most high-end Glock drop-in triggers. Now, what's really neat about this, guys, look at this trigger. Okay, so we have here to here. This is a two-stage trigger. This is the amount of take-up that we have. Compare that to the Glock, it's absolutely unreal. But this is where it gets awesome. Check this out, gentlemen. Here we're at the wall. Look at this. No creep. None. Look at this reset. Oh my goodness. Look at this. That's it. The break. It is absolutely candy cane break. If you snap the candy cane, you know that sound. You know what it feels like when you're putting that pressure on. It's gonna go, but it's not bending. But then all of a sudden, pow! Now you might be like, yo, that's a really expensive gun. That's a high-end custom firearm. Okay, fine, I'll give you that. Let's go look at a cheap, dirt cheap 1911. Come on. Now you've probably seen this gun before. What is it? It's a T-Sauce Raider. T-Sauce Raider. Made in like some third world country by slave labor essentially. No, I'm kidding. I think they're made in Turkey. It's a good gun, but here's the thing. It's $450. This is a dirt cheap weapon. So let's check this one out. Come here and check this one out. So here is a cheap 1911 trigger. This is a T-Sauce trigger in here. Just your regular curved bro. Junk. This by no means is a custom super high-end gun. Peep this break. So this is a single stage trigger here. When single stage means all you're gonna feel is a break. Listen to this. That's it. Now, look at the travel, bring back. That's it. Extremely crisp, extremely short reset. An extremely crisp candy cane-like break. Yeah, Glock triggers suck. Not only was Austria, where Glocks are made, heavily responsible for both world wars being started, but they are 0 for 2 in both of those world wars. Take that, sonny. Now on to the second subject matter. Glock perfection, reliability. Glock is known for world-class reliability. Or are they? Here's the thing. Glocks, yes, they are absolutely reliable pistols. Come hell or high water, they're probably going to run. But here is the thing, guys. Most modern guns are going to be dead nuts reliable. Yes, even your 1911 platform. But my stovepipe hoss, no. That comes from, you guessed it, junk-built foreign manufacturing 1911s. Quality manufactured 1911s, they're not going to do that. They are going to run come hell or high water. Just like this Glock. And guess what? This Glock here, yeah, it's a reliable platform, but guess what else is also a reliable platform? CZs. This Walther. You know what else has a better trigger? This Walther. Beretta. There's many more just like it that do reliability just as well as a Glock. So it's kind of a mutt point. Oh, Glock triggers aren't that bad from the factory. Well, let's just look at some of the 3 striker-fired pistols that I brought out today. Let's go ahead and unload them first. First up is the Walther PDP. This gun right here is in the exact same price range as a Glock. In fact, it can be found slightly cheaper at most places. This gun, it's a very reliable gun, and out of the box, it has a better trigger. There is no ifs and buts about it. Now, this is a striker-fired pistol. So essentially how a striker-fired pistol works is, for lack of better wisdom, a rubber band just waiting to go break. Now, we have a lot of take up here, but here's the thing. This is where you find your wall. On the Glock, we have about the same amount of take up here, but this is where it gets great. Watch this break. This is a factory trigger, unmodified. That's it. Look at this reset. A little bit long, but still better than the Glock. This break is what absolutely makes this weapon. Next, we have a very popular firearm today, the Sig P365. This happens to be the XL here. I carry this one every once in a while. Don't carry it super often, but it's still a great firearm. So let's check the breakout on this guy. All right, we're there. Not bad. Not bad. Check the reset. Not bad. So we have a decent amount of take up still, just like all striker fired pistols do, because this is their safety. Now, we get to our break point here. We got a little bit here. And we're good. Now let's get back to the Glock. This Glock trigger, it is not factory. This is in fact probably regarded as one of the best triggers that you can get for a Glock. It's Johnny Glock's. He hand polishes all of these triggers and makes them, well, much less miserable of a shooting experience. Decent amount of take up still. Let's get to that break. Creep, creep, creep. And then it goes. That right there is a miserable shooting experience. So we've talked about the atrocious trigger. Ugh. And we've talked about reliability. Here's the thing. Most firearms of today, over like $500 to $600, they're gonna be reliable. They're gonna be good quality, reliable pistols. So we have reliable weapons out there in the same price range, if not slightly cheaper. Let's talk about another terrible feat of the Glock and why you should stop buying them. Let's talk about the grip angle of this pistol. Now, the grip angle of this pistol is absolutely something out of a horror show. I don't even know how to describe it, but it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't feel well and it doesn't make sense. Why is that? So if you take your hand and you put your fist out, just like this here, your gun should sit in your grip, in your fist, just like that. And you shouldn't have to manipulate such a natural thing in order to manipulate your weapon system. But you do. You take your pistol here, pop your Glock in your hand. Well, that's not gonna work. Why? Why isn't that going to work? Well, you have to grip this pistol up super high. And the real problem of it is it just doesn't feel good. So when I shoot this pistol, I know I'm not perfectly flat and level like I would be with a 1911. I have to take this pistol and dip the nose down in order for it to be really good. If there's anything that felt like a giant brick in your hand, guys, it's a Glock. A pistol should feel like an extension of your arm, an extension of your own hand. When I grab a Glock, and keep in mind, this has a beautiful texture done on it by Battlecock Tactical. Love those dudes. Shameless plug. Love you, homie. But here is the problem. When I grab this gun, I don't feel like it's natural. These guns, they just have the worst grip angle. Compare this to literally any other platform out there. We're talking HK platform, 1911 platform, Walther platform, CZ platform, all of them have better grip angles than this. When you shoot this gun, it doesn't feel like an extension of my own arm. In fact, after I shoot a long day with Glocks, I can tell a difference in how I feel right in through here versus my 1911, simply because of how I have to grip this pistol and how the recoil impulse travels through my arm. I'm not kidding. Yeah, it sounds stupid, but it's a real thing. Next thing I want to talk about is the ergonomics of a Glock. Guys, they're just 25 years behind everything else right now. What makes them 25 years behind? Well, let's look at what pistol shooters change the second they get it. Let's talk about the slide stop. First things first, it is so small. It's much more difficult to manipulate the slide stop on an OEM Glock versus, say, let's talk about this Walther PDP right here. This Walther PDP has a huge slide stop here. This thing, it comes with an extended slide stop. This is from the factory, and it's the same price as a Glock. You can hit the slide stop way up top here. You can hit it way back here. It's perfect for anybody. Now, even Bob here, he agrees. Right? Isn't that right, Bob? Yeah, he agrees absolutely that the original OEM slide stop for Glocks, they're just miserable. It is a miserable piece of equipment. It's too small. It doesn't extend any further back. It makes your margin of error extremely small. Isn't that right, Bob? What users end up doing, like myself, is they go with something like this. It's the CAGWorks extended slide stop. Okay, so you almost have your perfect Glock, right? You change out the slide stop and you change out the trigger. Yeah, Glock perfection. Let's talk about the next thing that you're going to change out. It's going to be the mag release button. The mag release button, they almost sit flush with the actual grip module, which in some cases is okay because, hey, if you rock a super tight grip and you have that death grip on that gun, isn't that right, Bob? You rock a death grip. When you rock that death grip, sometimes you can cause the mag to pop out. Let me see if I can try and do it here. Not really, no, but it's possible. Sometimes it's happened. What you do is you get an extended button. This button raises it up just a touch and makes it, well, a little bit more accurate, and you can be a little bit more precise with your thumb to drop that magazine out of the gun. From the factory, the mag button, I found it's just too flush. It sits too flush with the grip module here, and unfortunately, it makes it a little bit more difficult for you to drop that magazine, especially in like a high stress situation. If you have to dig for that button with your thumb and be like, come on, get out of there, son of a gun, that's just not good. It's not ideal. Now, let's talk about another fantastic feature about your Glocks. Now, fitment. The fitment of Glocks. The fit, the finish, it's subpar to say the least. Now, you get what you pay for when it comes to, let's say, $600. That's about the going rate for a new Glock. And what do I mean by fitment? What do I mean by finish? Let's talk about it. So let's take a look at this actual fitment of this thing. So we have a stock Glock frame on this, and we have a stock Glock slide. This thing, it's loosey-goosey. They're kind of sloppy. And just listen to this thing. That sounds terrible. That's a rattle trap. It reminds me of those old worn-out CMP 1911s that are just rattle traps, if you will. Now, the thing of it is you take this Beretta here. Beretta's right around the same price range. Yeah, this is a cool flat dark earth tactical one, but it's the same thing. Yeah, no, this thing, so much more solid. What makes it really cool about these Glocks, you know, kind of being loose tolerances, if you will, is that you can slap just about any parts into this weapon and it's going to work. I can't take my 1911s and just move this slide back and forth, up and down, and all sorts of sides. I mean, this thing is doing the hokey pokey on my gun here. It sounds terrible. So this whole thing, it might be coming off as like, yeah, I hate Glocks or something like that. And that's not the case. I enjoy a Glock. A Glock is a good weapon. But here's the thing. In 2024, we now have options. When this gun came out, options, they were slim pickings. And when this thing actually came out, guys, really, if you weren't shooting some sort of revolver or 1911 or those Smith Wesson guns that the FBI adopted that turned out to be hot garbage, well, yeah, sometimes the Glock, it did better. But here's the thing, in 2024, we have so many more options. People like HK, people like Walther, CZ, any 1911 for that matter, they're making guns just as reliable and even better than this for around the same price. So why would you buy a Glock in that situation? It makes no sense. It's a miserable shooting experience. And over the past, I don't know, let's call it the 25 years, they've done nothing. They have done nothing new. They've changed some numbers on the sides. They've either said, hey, let's give these guys a longer frame and a shorter barrel and a shorter slide, and we'll name it this. oh, that's really cool. Like, did I really need that? No, not really. I don't think I actually really needed that, but it's cool you came out with another number. That's cool. I think the most innovative thing that they have done in the past, I don't know, let's call it 25 years, is the 19X. And even then, I wouldn't even call that innovative. So I would say their best upgrade they've done is the performance trigger. And those are okay as far as a Glock trigger goes, but they're still not great. They're still not great. So let's talk about the alternatives to a Glock. What do I need to buy instead of a Glock?
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the shortcomings of Glock and just how they lack a serious sense of innovation in the past 30 years, let's say. I think their greatest improvement has been the performance trigger, and even then, that's not that great. So let's talk about the alternatives. Let's talk about where your money is best spent. So let's call it Glock of today, a brand new one off the shelf, a 19 to 17. We're gonna call that anywhere from $550 to $650, some of them pushing close to $700. So we'll just say right in there, that's kind of the price point. We'll keep it plus or minus like 50 bucks. So we'll say that's going to be the competition. So the first gun that comes to mind when I think something better than Glock but costs the same, it's the Smith & Wesson 2.0. The Smith & Wesson 2.0 is a phenomenal gun right out of the box. First things first, the trigger out of the box is just miles ahead, and it's still a striker fired gun, meaning there is no external safety. The safety is right here. Now you can get these guns right from the factory with an optic cut, so you can put your favorite optic on there, or if you don't want to run an optic and you do the irons thing, heck yeah, good for you. Even their iron sights are way ahead of Glock's. Glock's iron sights are miserable. So a couple other things that are much nicer than Glock's is the slide release. It's much easier to hit. It's in a much better spot. The mag release button, that's also in a better spot and also a little bit easier to hit. The shooting experience between a Smith & Wesson 2.0 and a Glock it's miles ahead. It's still a striker fired pistol, so it's not going to be that custom heck yeah kind of gun, but it's much better, and it's right in that same price range. Second gun that comes to mind is the Walther PDP, and we have a Walther PDP here actually. This is the compact version, so let's consider this much closer to a Glock 19 in size and just that feeling of carry. This gun right here is miles ahead of any Glock out there from the factory. It has a much better slide stop. You can take this thing, hit it way up front, hit it way in the rear. It's huge and it's ambi, so you left-handed guys are awesome. Your actual mag release button, it's guarded on the bottom with a little beveled edge here, but an intentional hit of this guy is going to drop it right out, and it feels so much better. I don't find myself searching for it or anything like that. It's much better. Now, what's super rad about this is the shooting experience of this weapon compared to a Glock is so much better. And the recoil impulse of this gun is just, it's much smoother and it feels much more straight back than as opposed to that muzzle rise, if you will. It's just a much better gun. I actually picked this one up for like $450 at my local gun store. And it's optic cut, ready to go from the factory. So again, you can put whatever optic that you want on it. I use Trijicon RMRs, they're made in the USA, that's what I like. Not to mention they're coming with suppressor height sights, which is fantastic because you guys who really want your backup iron sights on here while you have a dot, it's ready to go. Glock from the factory, forget about it, so forget about it. Now, the next thing that I want to recommend, it's a Beretta M9. Guys, this gun is proven itself time and time again through years and years, decades of military service, law enforcement agency, and here's the thing. This is a hammer-fired gun, so immediately out of the gate, it's going to be a better trigger than that rubber band style striker fire. Now, hammer guns, yeah, they have their own pros and cons, but the pros far outweigh the cons. Same thing with striker pistols. They kind of just, trigger. That's the biggest gripe I have against them. External safety, whatever, you know, that's kind of a personal preference thing, but the hammer-fired Beretta M9 is fantastic. It's a double stack weapon. Guys, it feels so much better in the hand than any Glock out there. And you know, I'm not really a huge Beretta pistol dude, but these things, they're nice pistols. And in fact, if you don't get the cool flat dark earth tactical drip that was supposed to be in the military contract like this one was, it's right in that price range. You can get them optic cut to put your favorite optic on there, and they just feel so much better. Not to mention, Beretta is a fantastic company. They make really good, high quality guns, and they've made them for the military for years and years. So the Beretta, that is another great choice. Now, let's talk about Gucci Glock. So I've been talking about OEM Glocks this whole time, essentially. And people will be like, well, you just need to get a Gucci Glock. Like, yeah, of course, an OEM Glock's gonna suck. But even though that's what the video's about, how OEM Glocks suck, I need a Gucci Glock. You should get a Gucci Glock. Okay, let's look at Gucci Glocks, whatever the heck that means, okay? So let's talk $2,500 Glocks, because it's no problem to get $2,500 deep in that Gucci Glock, if you will. Some people sell them stripped with all of the add-ons, all of the custom work and stuff like that for $2,500. That's not a cheap pistol. So what do you get with that Gucci Glock, if you will? Even if you're $1,700 to $2,000 wrapped up into that gun, you still have a shooting experience that's just meh. And it's just a less meh than from the factory. You still have that rubber banded striker fired pistol, and how it's designed, it just doesn't get much better. Yeah, you can do the slide stop thing, like a CAGWorks extension. You can do a different mag release button and so on and so forth, but at the end of the day, it's still a Glock, and it is a miserable shooting experience that hasn't changed since 1980. So what does $2,500 get you in competition? Well, that opens up a huge door. So $2,500. Actually, for $1,800, you can get a gun that takes Glock magazines and also is a 1911, which has miles and miles and miles ahead, better trigger, better ergonomics, and a much better shooting experience. Not to mention, guys, this thing, double stack, 9mm, 1911, $1,800. Company called Stealth Arms. They are super awesome, guys. They will make them in any color that you possibly want. If you want pink, purple, and all of the rainbow, you can do that. If you want 24 karat gold, they'll do it. It's so much better of a shooting experience than your Glock. And not to mention, it's right there in the price point of your Gucci Glock, whatever that means, again. So you can get them with a threaded barrel, you can get them optic cut, ready to go. There's a bunch of different slide serrations, so it's actually customizable. That's dope. It's just a fantastic shooting platform, and it comes in right around like $1,800. Also, talk about Gucci Glock price range, $2,000, $2,500. What about Staccato? Staccato is the OG 2011. They basically, well, STI, if you will, created the 2011. They coined that term. It's a double stack 1911. So Staccato has years and years of competition, duty use under its belt, and proven itself. The Texas Rangers of all folks carry a double stack 1911 that is a Staccato, and it's proven itself. It is miles ahead of any Gucci Glock, miles ahead. It's a much better shooting experience. It takes better magazines. Yeah, they're more expensive, but they're just as customizable too. I will say, out of the factory, you shouldn't have to mess with it. Maybe a trigger job. That's probably the only thing I would do. But even then, the factory trigger is fantastic and miles ahead of any Glock. So whether you think about getting your Gucci Glock or whether you think about just starting off fresh with an OEM Glock and kind of going from there, either way, it just doesn't make sense in 2024. In 2024, in the $600 to $700 price range, there are better options. In the $1,500 to $2,500 Gucci Glock range, there are better options. So many better options out there. So yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I like Glocks. Glocks aren't bad weapons. They go bang every time you need them to. But here's the thing. In 2024, most good weapons that come from a reliable manufacturer are going to do the same thing. So, guys, you have it here. Stop buying Glocks and look at your options. You will save money, you will save time, and you will have a much better shooting experience. So, guys, that wraps up the episode. Say it with me now. Run your gun and not your mouth, and we will catch you next time.